Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Joining me today is Dan Kelly, who is President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Thanks again for joining us, Dan.
Happy to be with you.
Well, today you CFIB highlighted the concerns that new small businesses in Canada have raised over the past year. Can you highlight some of the issues that we're dealing with if you are a new business that just started business during the pandemic or just before the pandemic?
Yeah, look, there are thousands and thousands of businesses that get their start every year. And typically it's not like you decide to go into business one day and then automatically your business is set up the very next. It often takes months, sometimes years before the business is actually operationalized. So all of those businesses that were often planned and worked on pre-pandemic and then went on stream during the pandemic, just as it started or in the months to follow, they have by policy been excluded from all of the government support programs. And look, on one level, the government might, bureaucrats and others would have cautioned government. You don't want to create a program that has big subsidy dollars attached to it, that somebody that could have dreamt up a business today sets up basically a fake company in order to access some government money. I totally get and respect that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about businesses that may have been, in the planning stages or even, construction stage in 2019 that went on stream in 2020 that have been excluded from the program. A good example, a restaurant owner contacted us. They had spent $400,000, their entire life's savings and every dollar they could borrow to try to get a 100-seat restaurant open. It was supposed to start in April. Their plan was for April 2020. Unfortunately, what happened is that the pandemic slowed down the finalization of their construction because of the lockdowns that happened already at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
They were only able to open their doors in June of 2020, serving a very limited, I think 10 people at a time back then. But because they didn't open in time, because they didn't have either a payroll account, a tax return from 2019, a business number at the appropriate date, they have been excluded, as have thousands and thousands of other businesses, from accessing a single dollar from the rent subsidy, a single dollar from the wage subsidy, or a single loan dollar from the Canada Emergency Business Account. And that's deeply unfair. These businesses need the support to be able to make it through. In fact, they probably deserve the support even more because they have no track record.
And and the thing is, obviously, these are the businesses that are going to be most vulnerable, right? Because there is no support.
You're 100% right. Look, there's a couple of things. One, they've spent every nickel they have. They borrowed to their maximum capacity typically to get the business going. Secondly, the business hasn't been able to develop a following or track record. You think about a restaurant. People might patronize that restaurant and do takeout from their favorite local restaurant that they've been going to for years.
Yeah.
But are they going to go to that brand new restaurant that is they've never heard of before that just opened up in their community? Probably not. I spoke to one of these businesses, a Chinese business owner in Mississauga, who said that she opened during the pandemic because she had already spent the money to get her doors open.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, her total weekend sales were $10.
Oh my.
And that's not her profit. That's her gross sales. She has 2 young kids, remortgaged her home to get the business open, and has no income and is excluded from any of the support programs. So in May of 2020, the Prime Minister, May 19th, a year ago, as we're recording this today, a year ago, the Prime Minister of Canada said he would fix the problem for new business owners. We at CFIB have written, have lobbied, have talked to government 1,000 times since then, and there has been no progress whatsoever. And I find it shameful that the government of Canada, that likes to talk about having the backs of the business community during the pandemic, has completely ignored small business owners, new small business owners, simply because they were unlucky enough to open their doors during the worldwide pandemic.
Dan, do you think there's a level or lack of awareness of this out there. Like, first of all, in the general public,
Yes.
but secondly, even for these businesses that are impacted, until they start looking at, looking at some of the stipulations of each of those support programs, and then they go, oh, we are not allowed, we're not eligible, right? So is there a lack of awareness?
There's no question there's a lack of awareness on the part of the public. There's some lack of awareness in Ottawa. I will say that most of the senior ministers we've spoken to have been very sympathetic to this group and have told us that they're working on it. But they've been telling us that for month after month after month with no progress. The real gap here, though, is I understand that the civil service is saying, well, wait a minute, this could be subject to some abuse. And they're right that there is that possibility. But for goodness sakes, these businesses could show receipts and efforts that they've taken to get their businesses going. We don't just have to put it on an entirely trust system and just say, yeah, come take as much money as you need.
Yeah.
We can find solutions to this. And I will say, provincial governments have done just that. Ontario's program, Saskatchewan's program, I believe Alberta's program, all have been adapted to allow new business owners to access some of the provincial support dollars. And so if the provinces can find a workaround, a solution for these firms, it seems incredible that a year later, after a commitment from the Prime Minister, the feds have done not a stick of work on this.
Yeah. So what's from the CFIB's standpoint, what is the solution to this?
Well, one is to your earlier point, we need to make a lot more noise about this. Business owners need to, both long-term business owners need to support those brand new businesses, and those new business owners need a voice to try to get that message across to Ottawa. We're launching now a new petition on our website, on the petitions page on the CFIB website, urging new business owners and those that support them to put pressure on the federal government to fix this problem and give them access to the wage and rent subsidies and the CEBA loan programs. Look, these businesses, we're counting on these new firms, fresh entrepreneurs with lots of energy to help guide Canada out of the economic recession that we are all in as a result of the pandemic. And if we allow these businesses to fall and go down after the people and allow families to lose their entire life savings along the way, we're going to stunt our economic recovery. So it makes sense to me that we would include these businesses in the support programs. In fact, that's what they're designed for.
Yeah. One last thing, Dan, when things like this, and the fact that there is no support for new businesses, did that deter businesses from starting up? Because if I'm looking at right now starting a new business, and I'm going, ooh, there's no support programs out there, right? And what if we hit another wave, the fourth wave or the fifth wave or whatever? What's the incentive for me to start up a new small business then?
Yeah, look, you raise a really important point. I understand. Look, government's advice is, well, look, if you started your business knowing that there's a pandemic going on, do you really need to have the support? You knew that the economy was shut down or these restrictions were in place, but for goodness sakes, we're going to need some new entrepreneurs to be able to pick up where other business owners have left off. And so if we keep these long-term restrictions in place and no support for businesses to get going, we're going to stunt our economic recovery. And that's why I do think it's important that we put in place targeted support for new businesses during the pandemic to get them going. The government has done many things right, but they have really stopped listening to the calls for fixing of the gaps. There are gaps in the rent support program that we've talked about, gaps in the wage subsidy, gaps in the CEBA loan program. Certainly, for new business owners, they have gaps for all of the programs. And that's why we need government to fix this tomorrow, so that we can get these businesses back up and running as Canada comes out of the lockdowns, which we're hoping will be in the weeks ahead. We will have a better chance of having economic recovery go quickly as opposed to just drag on forever and ever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks a lot, Dan, for joining us again today.
Anytime.
All right, super. That was Dan Kelly, President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business. Thanks for joining us today.